Hi, ajmahari here, again with a response to a comment. I haven't fully read this one, so I hope I don't trip over it. So let's go and get into it. This comment was left on the video I did, Why Borderline Split Rage and Punish You for Your Love. And by the way, these comments, the videos that they're left on, will be in the end screen. Most videos that I do about a certain comment. So the commenter says, or asks really, what do you do if the person you know has BPD and they know and in brackets, they have admitted that they have it and they understand that they have some of the symptoms, but they're not in a position to get any therapy. And they think that they can just, quote, try to be better, unquote. Well, that's not a workable scenario in these relationships. These relationships that don't work out, right? Even though people put so much invested time, energy, often money, yourself, losing yourself, sweat, effort, and they don't work out. So, see, when a person knows they have BPD and, they've admitted it, but for whatever reason they can't do therapy right now, then you're just going to keep getting absolutely more of the same, right? Because whether they know it or not, guess what? Inaction and no treatment, those people, the people that know they have BPD and don't ever get treatment, they're just trying to be better. They're just the same as the people who don't have a clue they have BPD. Just as difficult, just as impossible to relate to, unfortunately. And so the comment continues, do you still just go no contact or low contact? It's difficult because this person is aware that they have an issue, but they're not in a position where they can get significant therapy. Well, understandable, but I guess, depending what you're experiencing in that relationship, to the commenter, or anybody that might relate to this, if there's no children involved and you're already exhausted and you're realizing that this is really painful, then the answer is to go no contact. Low contact is of no value really to people in the great majority, if not most. When there's no children involved, there's no need for low contact. It's not going to help anything. Just like this person, I think this commenter might think or be of the opinion that because this person knows they have BPD, that maybe there's a reason to hang around and it's going to change. Not really, because they're not in therapy right now. And even if they were, therapy doesn't save these relationships. Really want to keep saying that. Therapy, the borderline going to therapy will not save your relationship. Not unless you're willing to wait another 5, 6, 7, 8 to 16 years. And even then, you have to do your work with codependency, any family of origin, childhood woundedness, and you need to do your work. Because if a person gets through healing and recovering from BPD, there's no guarantee they're coming back your way, right? And that's not a statement against anybody who's with somebody with BPD, but just please keep that in mind too, because it happens all the time. I know personally it happens, because when I healed and recovered, when I was just getting to that point, I looked across at my partner and I was like, And I mean, they weren't growing and they had issues and whatever. But I ended the relationship at that point. So just remember that could always happen. I'm not trying to say any of you are in this, that you're terrible or you're not wonderful to be in a relationship with. But if a person with BPD really heals and recovers, and you're sitting there with codependency, not going to work. So don't always think that it's about you getting them to somehow get better to fix everything. Because these relationships really just don't work out. And you need to spend that energy on you, helping yourself to heal, for more people than not, from codependency, from a relationship that isn't working out, or a breakup, or or, checking in to work with somebody to see where you're at with this, what's really happening, what's going on, why do you feel stuck if you feel stuck, and the cognitive dissonance, the unhealthy bonds, and people are like, I don't know anymore, but but I love them, and people are not taking care of themselves. And let me just remind you, I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you. And then the commenter said, it's so difficult to shut somebody out because I feel like the silent treatment is the worst pain anybody can ever experience. Well, remember, going no contact is what people do to protect themselves from people with BPD, untreated. And unfortunately, all of the patterns of behavior and the ways that they don't know how to interact in emotionally healthy adult ways, you need to protect yourself from that. So that is not really giving somebody the silent treatment. It's not the same thing. It may seem like it's a small delineation, but it's not really the same thing. And it's really important to know that if you feel like you need to go no contact from somebody that you've been in a relationship with BPD or any relationship type, you have the right to do that to take care of yourself. It's very difficult for people with codependency, and you need to do it to take care of yourself. And another question I'm often asked is, but, should I tell them? What should I tell them? You don't tell them anything. You just take care of yourself. Then you get yourself into a healing recovery journey and you keep moving forward. And it might sound cold, but you have to think about you. People with BPD not going to be helped by you hanging around, you trying to explain why you can't stay with them anymore. Just need to take care of yourselves out there. And the commenter continues, do people with BPD not experience the same level of pain when somebody blocks them out of their life? Well, not all people with BPD are the same, so they're not all going to experience the same amount of pain, or maybe some don't experience much pain. So I can't say that all people with BPD, if somebody blocks them, are going to experience the same level of pain. They can experience the pain of abandonment. They might get triggered back into dysregulated emotions that are, maybe involve age regression or some dissociation, but they're going to more than be able to deal with in one way or the other, or only be in pain because you choose to block them. They're going to be triggered back to what they're always triggered back to, their original primal core wounds. And they don't have a self there to process or to even consciously be aware of what that is. So really, to answer this just a little bit further, but I can't give a full answer because everybody with BPD is different, that many people with BPD might feel a lot of pain and hurt about feeling abandoned. But that's their responsibility. And a certain number of people, or percentage of people with BPD untreated, might just go, out of sight, out of mind, and move on, and as if they discarded you. So it's really hard to say because it can run the whole sort of gamut there of various different reactions. Some others with BPD might get really sort of into stalking and be determined to get you back. If you go no contact, hopefully they can't hoover you. But if they know where you live, they might show up at your house. And when that kind of behavior starts, it's really important to involve the police because it's unwanted contact and not that often necessary, but it can escalate to really dangerous behavior sometimes. Every other breakup or loss of a friendship in my life, usually we just drift apart, and it's impossible because when this person says they want to remove me from their life, they will block me for a day, but then email me or come back. Well, yeah, let me just say, I think it's pretty safe to say, rare would be the case, if ever, can you just drift away from a borderline. Especially if you've been in a relationship with them or dating them, or even a family member or different relationship types, or a favorite person for that matter. So the drift away, it's not going to work. It doesn't. The drifting apart, sorry. And you said that the person with BPD that you might still be with, or that you're asking about in this comment and with questions commenter, you said because when they say they want to remove me from their life, they will block me for a day, but then the email will come back. Well, that sort of pattern can continue, right? You get blocked for a day and then the email, they want to come back. And then maybe that pattern will extend over time so that you get blocked for 2 days or 3 days or a week or longer. And then they may come back again, and it will just extend out because it won't hold the same over a tremendously long period of time. And so if that's what they're doing already with you, they might be on the precipice, usually I can talk, of the, final splitted evaluation that will lead to a discard or ghosting. So not that you should rush to, make sure the relationship ends before they do, but I think you really need to take care of yourself. And you said there's also the expectation that should I just forget all the hurtful things that they've done to me in the past and, quote, start over fresh, unquote, with the promise that things will be different. That isn't really ever the truth. And when you know this person knows that they have BPD, has admitted it, isn't getting therapy, and is, quote, just trying to be better, unquote, then with all due respect, I say to you and anyone that relates to this, you're fooling yourself if you believe it. Because things don't ever get different by starting over fresh. People recycle these relationships over and over, sometimes 10, 15, 20 times, seriously, 5 times, 3 times. You're going to get the same thing back every time, because what could change if they don't go and get treatment? And the answer is pretty much nothing, unfortunately. And then the commenter continues, but since I'm the one who's been watching hundreds of videos, I know that's impossible, but I don't know if they'll be able to figure out that they have a problem that they can't solve on their own. They usually don't figure that out. It takes treatment. They have to have some reason that compels them, whether it's anxiety or depression or both, or just feeling like negative a lot that gets to them, or hurt that will drive them to seek some help, because they don't even have to know that they have BPD to seek help, but this person knows they have BPD. So, but some people live a lifetime with untreated BPD and never do seek help because they have this false belief that they can solve it on their own. But nothing gets solved that way for people with BPD. And the commenter says, as a codependent, my natural instinct is to help people, and it's really, really hard to turn that off when I have empathy for somebody. Yes, I hear you. And I work with clients in that position, like all the time. And I mean, I have been for almost 33 years now. So the key thing is getting into a healing and recovery process. And I'm out here to work with those who might resonate with me. But yeah, it's really, really hard to turn it off, because you can't really turn off your codependency. You need to get into a healing recovery process from that. But in the meantime, maybe the best way to start to approach this, to perhaps create the change you need to, which it sounds like you're thinking about leaving, or going no contact and leaving. When you have empathy for someone, it's really, really hard to turn that off. Well, I understand that. And you know what? If you really want to go no contact and you really need to get out of this relationship because you need to take care of yourself, it's not going to feel like it's possible. But you have to use your logic and get it done. And then seek help, or seek help right prior to that. And then work through, talk it over, and understand more about what you're really stuck in. And then work toward going no contact. And it isn't that your empathy is going to get totally turned off. Like, that's really, really difficult for a lot of people with codependency. But that empathy reaches really unhealthy levels, right? Becomes not really, it goes from healthy empathy to being way too much empathy. And then, as I would say to anybody, I would say to you as well, commenter, what about having empathy for yourself? Because codependency, which is rooted in childhood adverse experience of varying degrees for different people, makes it next to impossible for people to feel that it's ever okay to put themselves first, to take care of themselves, to change things in their life that don't work, to maybe start to, I don't know, in the action of getting help, you can work on the excess or the unhealthy part of empathy that's being overextended. But this is self-abandonment by people with codependency. And I hear you and I feel for you. But it sounds like you are one of, I don't know, like hundreds of thousands to a few million people that needs to get out of a relationship that isn't going to work. And that you need to heal the codependency. And that you need to heal from the breakup. And that sounds like she's been breaking up with you, and it might be a day at a time right now. But these are all breakups to recycle, even if she only, blocks you for a day. But this is not tenable. These relationships don't work out. I'll have much more coming. I have many videos out on this channel already about this. I have videos on the communication impairment in BPD, the communication impossibilities. I have videos on why these relationships just don't work. I have a video, I think the title of it's something like When the BPD Relationship Begins, usually with the codependent. It feels so good and all that. But that's right where it starts to end at the same time. These people have no self. They have no ability to really love you. They have no ability to attach to you. And that's another reason why often, even if they're left, if you go no contact and you leave the relationship, it's really hard to say. Some will suffer, some don't. But hey, this person that you're with at least knows she has BPD. So if you want to free yourself, take care of yourself, which I highly advocate for people doing, then you need to know that she already knows she has BPD. So this would be you taking care of you, number one. And number two, giving her the opportunity to experience the consequences of her unfortunate inability to relate, attach, and love like an adult and be mutual and reciprocal. And maybe it might be a bottom for her to finally go and reach out and get help. But even so, people that are going no contact need to realize people do it, but it's not healthy to do it with the idea that if they go to treatment, you're going to wait, you're going to go back. Though this is the kind of thing that I really help clients with more than I can say more about in a video generally. But I really think, commenter, that it would be in your best interest, and anybody that relates to what you've shared and asked here, to end the relationship and not think about it as giving them the silent treatment. You're not doing that. When people with BPD do that, they don't want to hear what you need. They don't want to hear what you want. They don't want to hear who you are. They can't take it in because they're so focused on themselves, because they don't have a self. So they're focused on that lostness and that lack of identity, seeking it through people like yourself, commenter. And there's nothing fair about that. And so when somebody goes no contact to take care of themselves, to get into a healing recovery journey from the relationship and the codependency, to find your way to being able to heal that, to become an independent person, go forward in a much healthier way, it's not giving them the silent treatment. And remember that empathy for people with codependency, some more than others, gets extended, out into this territory of being almost like pathological envy. It's hurting you. You're self-abandoning. You're trying to please this person that you can't please. You're trying to give enough. What are you getting back? Right? Blocked here and there? day after day, whatever. Bottom line is, there's really no there. Because these people don't have an identity. They don't have a self from which to really interact in relationships in any adult, consistent, congruent, emotionally mature way. So to the commenter and anyone else who resonates with this, I would say it's really time to take care of yourself. It's time to put yourself first, and you need to do this by following your head, not your heart, because you can't just turn off the empathy. That's a process that has to be dealt with, this sort of pathological empathy. People get stuck. That kind of has to be dealt with in a healing recovery journey. So you need to use your head, like, I need to save myself. I need to take care of myself. I can't do this anymore. I'm not getting what I need in this relationship. I'm not getting what I want. I can't spend my life waiting for somebody who may never go to treatment to see if they go to treatment. Even if they go to treatment, it takes so many flipping years for real change to happen. I really hope that you might really think about either working with someone now to work this out more on a one-to-one basis and in person, with somebody like myself if you wanted, but like if not me, someone else who could help guide you and help you to ask these questions and work through this even more. Then I hope that this video is helpful. And that might be something that you would benefit from doing before you make a decision. But people in the cognitive dissonance and still in the unhealthy bond, etc., you need to follow your head and logic. It's never going to feel right. And you might feel really guilty and you might feel really awful, but just know that that too will pass, because there's no way to just clearly leave the relationship or end it and have it feel good. It's not going to feel good. It needs to be processed in a healing recovery journey. So I hope that was helpful. Everybody take care.